as communicative as possible, and please send your questions as we go. Often the questions come with the slides, so please do not hesitate, and I will take notes and try and answer them as we go or after the presentation. As Martina said, so I'm representing Redwire Space here. Some of you may have heard of this company, which is a very, very young company, 1.5 years. Which was started by basically collating different established companies, aerospace companies, many American companies together. So all those companies are very small. It's like less than 100 employees. And this is how Redwire Space was created. And we are in Luxembourg. That's basically it. So I will dive immediately into the topic. So I was just thinking how to call that presentation. And everyone's talking about new space and a few years already now. And, somehow then one think, okay, so everything what we have done before is old, basically. Is that how we should think about it? So I was trying to find a definition, and everyone has a different definition of what new space is. So this is what I found when I Googled it. So they say new space is basically faster than before. It's more efficient. It's agile. There's more risk being taken. It's cheaper. And the organization who do new space have a flatter hierarchy than the more conventional actors. And finally, many mentioned the commercial private funding. That is also something that defines new space for many. Now, I love that definition. Someone said that you may see it as the comparison between kids and parents. So new space is like the kids, a bit rebellious, creative, a bit, agile, working fast, not doing things great, trying, breaking, making errors, going back. Whereas the parents are more serious, they take their time, they make sure that everything is checked before they proceed to the next step. So, this has been occupying my brain, and I will tell you my personal story in the next slide so that you understand. And that brought me to ask myself this question. So, when we talk about this transition, so what kind of skills are actually needed? Do we have basically to take people from non-space domains and get them to learn about space? Or should we recycle our space experts into more pragmatic, creative thinkers? And, doing new space, does that mean letting go on quality? How much does that cost, and to what extent? So how do we know on that? So I'm not going to answer all those questions, but by asking this question, this is how I came to this presentation. So a little bit about my personal story, because this will help to understand where I'm coming from. So I spent most of my career at Airbus, only in the space division. And one of the most defining experience for me was working on Galileo. We have built the clock units and the clock monitoring units. ESA context, a very critical program, very critical elements that really define the payloads. So therefore, that was a very, very rigorous approach. I've just muted myself. Okay, I'm unmuted. However, there was a little bit of innovation because those guys there in Munich at Airbus had always produced just one unit, maximum two. And now we had to build 42. So there was a little bit of an innovation there in that we dropped some of the processes, some of the documentation. So there was already a little bit of this that was needed there to be innovative and more efficient. So that was an interesting first exercise. Later, I transitioned to OHB. And so I worked on programs that probably most of you have heard of, Heinrich Hertz, which is a program for the German military, Electra, the first fully electrical European satellite, and Plato, which is a science mission. So all of those were very rigorous. But there was also something that started to change. First of all, OHB is a younger organization compared to Airbus. So there are much fewer processes. And H2SAT, that program we had a customer who didn't really know much about space, I mean, the technical aspects of space. So there was some flexibility there to propose some new things. But internally, it was very difficult. Why? Because we had people mostly from this conventional space approach. So it was very difficult to move the lines and convince those people to sort of like, you know, drop it down a little bit in terms of quality and processes. And then there was Red Wire Space. So that was like a huge change, obviously. Completely new company, small company. When I arrived, we were just 22. Now we are 32. Brand new product, I'll show you in the next slide. Everything to be built. Most employees had no space experience at all, but they were eager to learn what does that mean now to build a space product. So that was the opportunity really to start from scratch. So that's what we do in Luxembourg. We are building a robotic arm for space applications. Again, from scratch, basically. So all those people have different experiences, and we bring all that together: mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and software engineering. And what you see there is the first qualification model of our arm. And we were just at DLR a couple of months ago to test it in this big thermal chamber that you see there, and also to put it on the shaker. So again, new company. Also, the building you see there is brand new, so everything new. And of course, also, no process, no documentation, at least when I arrived, that was the case. So, of course, what we started to do is look for PA, right? We were like, okay, let's do this properly. Let's find a PA. And when I arrived, there was one, and he was a consultant. So we hired a total of 3. So the first one who was there when I arrived had difficulties to understand exactly what we wanted to do. So we said, look, we don't want to apply CSS completely. That's not going to work. That's going to be too expensive for us. We want to be agile. We want to be efficient. So he wasn't sure exactly what to do with this. Also, it was a little early because we were still in the prototyping phase and very early engineering model. So that didn't work quite well. So we said, okay, let's get a new PA. And we got another one. We said, okay, come on, let's get someone with a lot of experience, really someone who has seen it all. We found that one. But that didn't work either, because for him, we wanted to go too far in tailoring, dropping requirement processes and all that. So, to say it bluntly, he sort of freaked out. We had a lot of conflicts and very difficult conversation on configuration management, on how to approve an NCR, how to define it, how to communicate with the customer, and so on. And finally, I want to put, of course, I won't give you his name, but I want to put the sentence that he said. He said, I don't want to go down that road because I don't want to put my reputation at risk. That's understandable. I think he wanted to continue working on more traditional programs. So he was afraid that his name would be associated to this tailoring, which from his point of view was very, very risky and was going to lead to a failure in orbit. So that didn't work either. So then got another one and we explained, okay, look, this is what we want to do. You have to be ready to compromise. And he understood it. So we said, okay, that's good. Let's bring that guy in. And start with this person, because he seems to have the right mindset while at the same time bringing experience from his previous work. Now, what happened, and I'm sorry about all the text, you can probably read that later. But what basically happened is that even though he had the right mindset, we realized that he didn't have the know-how that we needed, because what we wanted to have is someone who tells us, no, if I were you there, I would really follow the CSS. Or there, you know what? No, it's fine. You can drop that one. It's okay. And for that, of course, you need to have a minimum of a technical understanding of our product, not a general technical, but specifically of our product. So that basically you're not just writing paperwork, but you're actually adding value to the discussions and helping decisions. So that didn't work either. So that was an interesting way to understanding what we need, because what kind of people we need and what kind of process we need. So of course, now everyone is eager to hear, then therefore, what should I do? I'm starting a new space company. I don't want to do ECSS. I don't want to apply everything what I've been doing until now in space programs. So what should I do? So you will be disappointed. It depends. There is no one size fits all, but I can give a few tips based on the experience that I have gathered. So to start with, as I just said with the PA story, you need to surround yourself with very specific people. Again, you need to have people who have seen it all. They have seen what can go wrong. Of course, not too much, because otherwise they would scare you to death. They would tell you that, all their catastrophic stories. But you need to have this minimum of experience. Then, as the experience with the third PA has shown, you need to have people who have a minimum of technical understanding of your product so that they can help you with decision making and defining what you need in terms of quality gates, approval, and what are the cases where, no, you know what, guys, in there, that's fine. If this is what happens, you can proceed. Of course, you need people who are open-minded, creative, very pragmatic. So we are back to the kids versus parent paradigm. As responsible for program, I can do the role of the parents. So I need people who can play the kids basically and have this creative spirit of thinking on their own. Of course, people need nevertheless to be structured because you will need them to follow processes. You will need them to go through paperwork, nevertheless, even if it's a minimum. They will need to select things what they think are relevant for them, and they will need to stand for it. That's very important. So I want, for example, my electrical engineer to say, I think I don't need that process. The reason is this, this, and that. And I stand to it. Of course, we are all on this together, but people who are convinced that what they propose is actually the right thing. Of course, if you have ESA programs, you will need to dive into ECSS, obviously. So in that case, of course, it's good to have people who have that experience, but not forgetting the points before. Right, so I like this this quote that comes back again to the versus parents. So the creative adult is the child who survived. So if you have that in the people you hire, then you have a good basis. Okay, so now you have the right people. You want to define your process. So from the experience, what we've had right now in the company, and again we are not done, is that what I was really trying, and I was really fighting with myself at the beginning when I started there, is to not start immediately defining and establishing implementing processes. I took a step back and I said, let's learn, let's look, and let's inject processes as we go, one by one, trying, seeing how it works. Do people like it? Does it address the problem or not? And then improve as you go. So that's the typical process you do in product development, actually. So you can apply that also to your processes. And that will also ensure that you have the buy-in from your employees, because they will have used that, they will have tried it, they will have given you feedback, they will have made recommendation, so that when your process is improved, they will have had a sense that, okay, I've contributed to that. So the buy-in will be much better. Ideally, engineer your processes with your engineers directly. They know their discipline and the product at best. What I just said, do not build the perfect process, build the minimum and revisit as you go. And of course, you want to cherry pick, right? We are looking at decades of space programs. So there is a lot of knowledge out there. And in the end, what we do now in space is not that much different from 20, 30 years back. Of course, there have been a lot of innovation, but at the end of the day, you still find a harness, you still find an onboard computer, you still have solar panels. So there's a lot of knowledge out there. And I wouldn't collect it only from space agencies. I would look also into customers, partners, suppliers, and visit facilities. That is just so essential to visit, how others do things differently, of course. We can learn a lot from each other, and we have started to do this, and this has been extremely beneficial. Right, digitalization, of course, big word, but we have been doing that. Instead of writing long documents, what we do is that we enter steps into, we use Airtable. So Airtable is a sort of Excel, but online. So again, instead of someone opening a big procedure or process document, they can just follow the steps on Airtable, and they can also log in completion if there was any issue. So if you do that from the very beginning, then it's much better. Right, choose the right time. The right time is very important. You don't, if you're doing prototyping, you don't want to burden people with too much process, like, oh, please record everything you do. And if your prototype doesn't work, write an NCR. That is, for me, hindering the process of creativity. And in that step, people are anyway trying different directions. So that's the first thing. And also, as your company matures, as new people come in, you will probably have different needs. So be open, be ready also to let go maybe of some processes along the way. So that basically your process and all your quality program moves as the company is moving forward. Yeah, so that's what I just said. Okay. So another quote, again, about creativity. Creativity involves breaking out of expected patterns in order to look at things in a different way. So that was, of course, for me, the best, because I was somewhere where there was nothing. But if you're already in a company and you feel that this company is burdened by too many processes, it might be a good time to be brave and breaking into the status quo. All right, a few more words. What was very beneficial for us is that we've started a project with our colleagues in the US. And of course, they have different experiences. They have different ways of working. So it's not that their way of doing is better than ours, but we have learned from each other a lot. And we have planned different sessions as we go in time. For them to review what we are doing. So, you know, when we have a process with approvals or whatever, that they look into it and they say, yeah, it's a good idea. This, I'm not so sure. And I will tell you why, because what happened to us was this and that when we have done that. So, you know, get feedback, invite people over and have them look at your workflows. Of course, have regular lessons learned. We will never say that enough. Very important, as I said earlier, you need people who know the product, and your product is made of different sub-products. And those come from your suppliers. You can learn a lot from your suppliers, from the technical point of view. And they can help you to define what is actually needed. So have a lot of discussions with them. Don't bury them under a lot of requirements, like I need a COC, I need a full test report, I need full traceability, I need regular report, whatever. Ask them first, tell them about your mission, your project, and ask them what they would recommend, and then start discussing. Yeah, so they know their product best. They will also give you advice of where to be vigilant. They will sometimes tell you, if I were you, I would not drop that process, you should keep it. So, you know, keep that dialogue always open. And of course, your people need to have the right mindset. So they have to know they have to be vigilant. This is still space. It's not, you know, automotive industry. But they should at the same time be able to think on their own. So you don't want to constrain them too much. So that's a mindset that needs to be repeated and trained all the time. I've seen it. People who come from non-space, they are extremely careful. So those we need to say, okay, you're right, space is special, but you know, there is a way also to be pragmatic. And those who come from space, they a bit like me, you know, they want to try new things, they want to let go of some documents. So there sometimes you need to, no, you know what, no, let's not be too new space, because there it's important. So they need to have this this right mindset. And of course, finally, you want to make sure that the process is the quality system that you are implementing is actually working out. So test it, it will fail, test it again, fail. So typical product development cycle, but that applies also to this framework. So, and finally, like I said earlier, there is no one size fits all. You will have to use different processes and requirements depending on, of course, first of all, your customer. Do they trust you 100%? Do they say, okay, look, I only care about the final product. You know, I put it on my test bench and it works. I don't care what you do in between. Or some others will have very, very strict quality and technical requirements. So, of course, you will not have the same set of processes depending on that. Of course, the mission will also help you to define that. You know, new space typically is for big constellations where failures are planned, failures are accounted for. So that's, of course, a much different way of addressing your quality process than if it's you know, far off mission or safety of life, for example. That's, of course, not at all the same demands. And of course, your suppliers, if your suppliers have been in space business forever, they have COTS products, they know exactly what they're doing, they will be able to help you if you want a custom product, or are they more coming from a non-space area and they're still learning about space? The approach will not be the same. Your requirements towards them will not be the same. So that's also something to consider. Right, so I'm coming to the conclusion, and I would like to conclude on this picture first, because I think that resumes it quite well. So you see our arm here in the clean room. So that's our facilities in Luxembourg. And the two gentlemen on the right are our ESA representative. So ESA in this program that we have, which is called STARC, is not that much a customer. They act as a technical advisor. And the journey started by them being extremely reluctant to dropping on ECSS, on documentation, and a lot of other things. This took a lot of discussions and dialogue to explain them what we wanted to do and why we thought that we don't need it, and why we thought this was going to be nevertheless a success. So that took really a lot of time. And even when the program started, it was very, very difficult. They wanted to see this document and that other. So that was a struggle. And as time went by, they became more and more confident about our product. They understood the new way that we were trying to do things and the way that we were actually doing things. And they saw the results. They saw the result of our test. They saw that we passed reviews, and that became just a complete game changer. So the person you see there, the one on the right, is the head of the robotic department at ESA, and the gentleman next to him is the PA. And they both had to learn along the way, you know, to adapt to our way of working. But that just went terrifically well, to the point that they even applauded us at CDR. So that was absolutely mesmerizing. And I think that says a lot about the approach that we're trying to take. So 3 sentences to finish. So I think we live in a really great and very interesting time, in that we have 2 big periods of time that meet each other in the middle. There is, of course, the incredible decades of space missions behind us, who give us a lot of you know, richness to do things. And we have the opportunity now, of course, to break free from those and do our cherry picking and decide what we think makes sense for our space missions. So we can reinvent another way of doing space, while, of course, maintaining a level of quality that is still, you know, way above a lot of other technology domains. So we should not forget that. I think there is the right balance to find. So, you know, what I can say is, you know, be bold, be courageous, speak up, surround yourself with passionate people who have the right experience and the right attitude. Yeah, then you can do anything in an efficient way. Right, so finishing, creativity again is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and of course, having fun. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Aurelie. So thank you for insightful presentation, and obviously always good to see and follow what Redwire is up to. And now, kind of building onto the theme that you chose for you today, the new space meets conventional space. I have a question here for you. So how do you see the traditional space industry and the new space industry interacting in the coming years? And what kind of opportunities and challenges will arise as a result of that?
So you mean interacting with the modern new space companies?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's not, it's not that we put conventional space companies to the side and they are going to die slowly and the others are going to take over. I think we will always need both. So I know it's an easy answer, but what I was saying in my presentation, I think that the interaction should happen as often as possible. It's just like the kids parenting, right? Or the kids adulting. Of course, kids have a lot to learn from adults. So in new space, some people have been in conventional, so that's fine. But they also have employees who need to learn, what has been learned across those decades. But on the other hand, I think that the conventional actors can learn a lot from new space. They will not apply it directly because their model is different. But I think that that there is a lot to be gained from those interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, for sure. As the kids and the parents kind of have to work together, right?
Yeah.
And they're both going to learn during the process, by the way. So.
Oh, absolutely. Both.
Exactly.
So as parents, you learn from your kids all the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
thank you, Aurelie, once again for the insightful presentation. For the people who are watching this right now live or after the recordings, as you obviously both known, we have access to the speakers, that's where you're going to find Aurelie, also her contact details, where we can schedule with her a private call if you're coming from a business side or government side, you like to discuss more kind of privately, or social media to follow Redwire and their journey, which is a fantastic journey as well. And thank you once again, Aurelie and Redwire, for supporting us this year as well. So
our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you, Martinez.
Thank you.